We're going to be playing on normal difficulty. We are not going to have historical AI focuses on, because we aren't going to be playing historical. So if we're going to be all weird and bizarre, we may as well have the rest of the world be all weird and bizarre as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. And this is a sponsored stream by Paradox. We are to focus, to showcase No Step Back, which comes out tomorrow. If you do !what game, you will get a link to where you can find out where you can also get No Step Back. And there's also the 1.11 patch that is coming out, the codenamed, I think, Barbarossa patch, the free patch, which is hugely transformative. Because, like, one of the things is the entire supply and logistics system has been completely redone. It works completely different than before. Now we've got these local sort of supply hubs over here that supply an area around it. What do I do? Oh, there you go. If I hold shift over a supply hub, you can see the area, and they can overlap. And then we got railroads, and you even got little trains. Look at them go! We got railroad that we build that brings the supplies out to the hubs, and then from the hubs, they get distributed around the nearby provinces to actually provide nearby supply. Everything is completely different. I'm so excited. As far as I understand it, and my apologies if I'm an idiot, but as far as I understand it, the supply changes and everything like that is part of the 1.11 patch. Yeah, the free features are infrastructure and other support buildings similar to construct in allies' territory. We love that. That has been something that I know I have whined about a few times in the past. When your allies aren't building the infrastructure to help with the war, well, now you can. The other thing you can do with these supply hubs is there is a bouton right over here to toggle off supply to your allies. So that if your allies have a bunch of dudes in your territory and they're consuming all your supply and ruining your troops, which I have complained about before, this will deny them that supply, and most likely the AI will then move their troops out of the area as well, because it is a low supply area, so they should respond to that. That's really good, because the supply system is... even going back, I technically owned Hoi 1 and 2, but I didn't really play it. I did play some Hoi 3, and even going back there, supply is one of the most important, ways to make your army go, and there's a reason that it's an important part of the game, and people want it to be more important, more and more important. You know, make strategic bombing more important, make all those things more important. You know, they add in fuel couple of patches ago. I don't remember when fuel was added in. And they keep shaking up the logistics system, which, I mean, it's a war game and it's about moving units, but it's also about supplying units with stuff. What else is part of the free patch? Right. So part of the free patch is reworked and added to historical focus tree and national content for Poland, the Soviet Union, reworked and added the Trotsky focus tree for the Soviet Union. So those are all part of the free patch. And then the No Step Back adds even more content to the Soviet Union, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Poland. The tank designer system, which is like the ship designer system, is now in. So it's a really big one. I'll post the patch notes in the chat if anyone wants to check out on there. But there's so much that's different. We need a train emote. That's good. We should just be playing more train games too. So let's go back to the normal view over here. We have this officer corps tab now that's in here. So if we look at our political view, it looks a little bit different here, although mostly the same. But some of these slots, so these guys here, the military staff, they also show up over here. So Army Command, Navy Command, Air Force Command, those are the same things on the other screen. But one of the big things that's different is how the doctrines advance. The doctrines are no longer part of the tech tree. If we look at research over here, no doctrines anymore. They're gone. They're over here in the officer corps tree, and you improve them using experience rather than tech. What's going to be really interesting about this is how the balance of experience goes, because mostly in the base game, a lot of your experience went towards redoing your templates and then, buffing your tanks or whatever for your ground experience is the big part of it. Now spending experience on doctrines, I mean, conceptually makes a huge amount of sense. It makes sense that the actual military doctrines are developed by your military people as not as kind of a research project, but as a side effect of experience gained in battle and adjusting to strategy and those sorts of things. Now, you can get more experience from other sources now, so there's been a kind of a rebalance there, because basically all of the military officers you hire, all of your ministers and whatnot, military high command, all of them now, not just your theorists, all of them now, as far as I know, all of them, give daily army experience. So, I mean, obviously, once the war kicks off and you're fighting, you're going to be getting experience hand over foot from the actual combat. But before the actual fighting starts, now there's going to be a lot more experience available from all your ministers, which is going to be important because you need them to improve your doctrines. So, oh, and like there's so much more stuff over here, like preferred tactics selection and stuff. I haven't even played with this. I played for about 4 hours yesterday, trying to understand the new systems, and in particular, try to get a bit of a handle on the Soviet focus tree, which I feel like the old Soviet focus tree was about this big. Maybe it was a little bit bigger, but it felt like it wasn't much bigger than this. And now, if you haven't followed the dev diaries, you might not realize how stonking big this stupid tree has gotten. Look at this stupid thing. It's so insane. I love it. It makes me think of like, you know, like workshop mod content where, you know, people on there, whether we're talking about Kaiser Reich or the what's the Old World Blues, that's what it's called, right? Where people just kind of go nuts on these focus trees. It kind of reminds me of that. It kind of reminds me of just fan content kind of thing, where it's like, listen, we're just going to build something massive. Absolutely massive. Focus tree is entirely an accurate name for that. Yeah, now, a lot of it is sort of exclusive or contradictory or, you know, locking out. For example, in the political tree, which is everything from here to here is all the political tree. There is some big divides. For example, we are either going to embrace that we are a communist nation, so the path of Marxism and Leninism, or we are going to move away from it and try to bring back the exiles and bring back a non-communist Russia in some form. There's a few different versions of that. This is what we're going to be doing today, by the way. We're going to go down here. We're going to kick off a civil war. Now, there's a lot of different ways to kick off a civil war. We are going with the hardest way. It's funny because when I read through all the dev diaries, right? They're going through, they're introducing this and they're saying, it's going to be really hard. And then there was another dev diary like a couple weeks later that were like, listen, when we said really hard, apparently what we meant was impossible, according to the testers. So we've added some more stuff. It's still going to be really hard, but hopefully now it's actually possible, which is kind of a funny thing. And I can confirm this is very tricksy. So this is what I was looking through and practicing a little bit yesterday, just to try to understand what the vibe is. And this is definitely a very hard civil war, but that's what we're going to try today. Before we pay attention here, and someone in chat did ask if it is possible to restore the monarchy. Indeed, that is going to be our goal today. Romanov reconstruction, capital of the Tsars. We're going to try to bring back the old monarchy. Now, if we did go down the communist route, even then there are 3 different paths you can choose from. There is the center path, which of course is on the left. There is the left opposition, which I believe is where we bring back Trotsky. I mean, that's his picture, right? I think that's the idea. And then there's the right opposition over here, which is other people. I don't know enough about Russian/Soviet history to really come in on this. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different flavors of communism you can go. I mean, the historical route would be the center over here, I believe, and you work on that. And then, so over here, we've got our sort of military tree, which is, I mean, it's new, but it's fairly standard. Like, there's not any, like, really weird, shocking stuff over here. There's some cool stuff. You can restore the Cossack units over here. It gives you a bunch of free cavalry divisions, and makes your cavalry just more potent going forward, which is neat. I don't know if that's what we want to look at long term. And it is a mutually exclusive with Cohesion First over here, which plus 5% army organization is pretty good. So we shall see. We got our naval stuff over here, airplane stuff over here, all our industry stuff over here. Now, one of the interesting things here with the industry stuff is at some point, if we find ourselves in a war with a major power, everything from the 3rd 5-year plan and below gets locked out. The second it happens, and it's locked out forever, even if we peace out again, all this gets locked out, which leads to a really interesting conundrum given what we're going to do. Would we like to focus on finishing this industrial branch first, or do we want to rush through a revolution and do that? personally, because we have a limited time today, and I really want to get it started as soon as possible, I want to rush through the revolution because it's going to be more fun. So we're going to go and do that. We're going to go beaten, but not defeated. Now, we could start... well, we might end up doing both. That is true. One of the things is over here to continue with the finished 5-year plan. We do have to get up to 100 factories in total. We currently have 93. We will get a couple more from completing heavy industry over here. Infrastructure efforts just adds the infrastructure. We could go and do this. I mean, getting a couple more civilian factories early on is helpful because then we can continue to build more and more infrastructure. Infrastructure in the general sense, factories and whatnot. And we might just want to go and power through and finish the 5-year plan. We could just focus on that before we start the rebellion. The thing is, once we start the process, as soon as we hit beaten but not defeated, it's going to... I think this is going to start the paranoia mechanics. Yeah, it starts process towards the Soviet Civil War, and we really are going to want to focus on that hardcore. So I think I'm going to go and we're just going to commit to the revolution right away. What could possibly go wrong? So we're going to go beaten, but not defeated, so that we can explore the Civil War mechanics. Again, some of these others also have civil wars. By all accounts, they're much easier. You're going to see why this is going to be so hard for us. And the big thing is, we just don't have that much support, right? If you go down the Trotsky branch, right, the Soviet Red Army, a lot of the soldiers are going to be very sympathetic towards him, whereas we have a lot less of that sort of sympathy over here for the old regime, the pre-communist regime. So we'll see how that goes. We do have a ton of unassigned divisions over here. We have a total of what? We have 138 divisions currently. I don't really care exactly what happens with these divisions right now, because the problem is once the Civil War starts off, the divisions are all going to get like just completely redone and reassigned and everything. I don't think I'm going to assign you to a front or do anything like that. I think I will go ahead and start you exercising just so we can generate some XP, because I believe we will get to keep the army experience. So I'll just go ahead and do that. I could even shift click to limit it, but we kind of just want to generate the XP, I would say. Although it uses up material, which we don't have. Again, it's going to be really weird once the Civil War kicks off anyway. So I don't know if it matters exactly if we do anything with our troops currently. Let's take a look at the research tree. Things are still mostly the same. One exception is the armor tree, because if you do have the expansion, you do have a tank designer, very similar to the ship designer. However, unlike the ship stuff, they didn't really add crazy amounts of stupid extra stuff in this view. There is a little bit more that you get from artillery, apparently. We could start doing this. I think we're going to do standard start, though, which is we're going to research our basic machine tools. We're going to research our construction 1, and we're going to research our electronic mechanical engineering. Very standard technology start over here. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We do have some free military factories. The big thing for us is we're going to be limited in infantry equipment early on. We might want to do that. One of the things I do like to do early on is kick up the support equipment production. And the reason for it is it never goes obsolete. So I kind of often like to start building up a stockpile of support equipment. And then when we get infantry equipment too, start moving the things over there. Same thing with trucks, which we're going to need for some of our supply and things like that. If we take a look over here, this is our logistics fulfillment. We currently only need 57 trucks, but that number will go up. Oh no, sorry, we have 57 trains we need, and we have 300 in stockpile. We need 0 trucks currently, and we need 2 in the stockpile. In your supply zone, you can choose how the supply gets done, the motorization level. So by default here, it's just horseback. It doesn't need any special resources, but you can have it use vehicles instead. And if we do that, and if I unpause for a day, it'll change the number of trucks that are required. We can even double up on the trucks to support more over here. For now, we're just going to go ahead and leave it there. We do have some trucks being built already. But again, I think we'd need more rubber if we were going to build more trucks. So maybe I'll leave it there, and I will just go ahead and say, listen, make me a bunch more infantry equipment. As we get more military factories, it's going to be fine. I'm going to start using my civilian factories in a way that might not be exactly obvious. I'm going to start doing work over here. And the reason is this province over here, Chita, is actually where the stronghold of our revolution is going to be. So we're going to do that. How do you make choo-choos? Oh, that's a great question. We have our choo-choos. Do we not make it here? Yeah, there it is. Choo-choo trains. And there are different types of trains that can be unlocked as well. If we take a look over here on the first tab, and at the bottom... Sorry, I'm lying to you. It's on... over here. than the sport companies. So we currently have our FD trains over here. We could also unlock the L class, which statistically is exactly the same except cheaper. The FD class costs 70 production to make. The L class only costs 50, so you can make trains faster. You can also make these armored and camouflaged vehicles over here. They cost a lot more to make, 105 production, and they do take 2 steel instead of just 1. And then finally we can get this TM312 artillery train, although it does need a crap ton of material to make, not to mention it ties up some manpower as well. But so sexy. Who doesn't love that? Need a Pullman so we can have a nice lunch while traveling. That does sound very nice. Outdated equipment in the works is just this old submarine that it's complaining about here. I'm just going to do this sort of standard thing and do this. What we'll probably do is I'm just going to pull back the orders for these ships. Yeah, these guys over here too. Oh, I meant the shift clicked over here. I'm just going to let it finish the one of each that it's making, but that's about all. So yeah, the civilian factories. So what are we going to build over here? Probably just a few more factories in this area, although I do have to say that like the infrastructure is pretty bad here. We could go and boost the infrastructure a tiny bit before we get started, just to make the factory construction a little bit better, but I don't know. I think I might build a couple of military factories in this area. Maybe, tell you what, I'll start with one civilian factory just to buff this out, but then we will go ahead and get a couple more of these military factories. The other thing that's going to be useful once the Civil War kicks off is having a little bit more infrastructure here, in particular rail going out west, or even rail that it's expanding out into the north into Siberia over here, depending on how much area we control at that point. But we'll go ahead and get started with this. That's going to be fine. No divisions of basic training is mostly okay because we don't actually have enough infantry equipment to start dealing out anything. What I'm going to do, just to stop them from whining at me, is I'm going to go and put in an order for a single infantry division. It'll get rid of the message, but they're never actually really going to get built because they don't have any equipment available. But it'll get rid of that message and just making sure that we're okay. And at some point, if we get caught up on our equipment, then all of a sudden we'll get a little message like, hey, you're ready to deploy something. I'll be like, oh yeah, let's start working on maybe developing some more units. I mean, we have a crazy amount of manpower. We just don't have any guns for them. So unless they can run up and punch the enemies, there's not going to be a whole lot for them to do. And with that, I think we can probably unpause. And yes, it is the vodka and caviar. I still think vodka and pickles fund for today is the way to go, but we'll see. All right, just making sure I have no important messages on Discord I have to deal with right now. All right, let's unpause, bring the speed up to 4. We'll probably go up to speed 5 fairly quickly. We shall see. Only 20 minutes until unpause. Nice. And actually, considering we had to like introduce an entire new patch, not just talking about opening strategy, that's pretty good for us. That's really good. I could train our planes as well. I mean, again, they'd suffer from attrition, but it might be nice to start getting a little bit of XP. So here's one of the things I don't know. When the Civil War kicks off, does it clone everything? Do both sides get exactly the same amount of XP or whatever? Do I get to keep it and they count as a new nation? As far as I know, I get to keep our political power and command points and things, so I assume the XP is okay. That's true. USSR does always ask for rum and spiced rum and Tropico. That is true. But I guess that's because vodka isn't making, or really, the Soviet Union wouldn't ask for vodka from anywhere else. They would just make their own, right? That's the way to do it. Okay. Are the ideas that we're running right now, Home of the Revolution, Trotskyist plot, politicized military, the 5-year plan is currently running. A lot of consumer goods factories are being used up over here if we take a look. Yeah, 43 consumer goods factories currently being burned, which sucks. Just terrible. We got a Soviet Air Force, which is not currently in a great state currently. And the Red Army also has some issues as well. But, you know, that's okay. We'll get through all that and we'll see. So as soon as this finishes, I believe this is the one that unlocks the paranoia ideas. A lot of the ideas are 35-day, or national focuses are 35-day focuses. So there's a lot of them, but you do burn through them, you know, quicker than it might look. Okay, we're gonna grab our next one. I'm gonna go... Well, actually, what we could do before we go down here, we could start down the right branch. So this allows us to use a little bit of religious stuff to manipulate the people. Opiate of the Masses, which kicks off over here, gives us a 5% stability boost, which isn't bad, but also gives us the daily communism support drop. It's not much of one, but it is going to be something that is going to be important when the Civil War shakes out. We can also do the reopen Novo Davici, which drops popularity of communism even more and does pay you back with some political power, which is helpful. So I think I'm trying to remember, because I had a few runs that I tried. I think I do like the idea of going over here. Rebuild the Savior Cathedral we can only do if we controlled Moscow, or Moscow if you prefer, or Muscovy, Moskva. But I don't think we're going to be building that early on. The Synod over here just renames the Opiate of the Masses and gives us some political power gain. I don't know if we care about that so much. I think we're going to grab Article 124. We could consider this. I don't know. Maybe I'll grab Article 124, then start down here for a bit, and then maybe we can consider grabbing this at some point. But I think this is going to be useful for the persistent drop. I love when I get to the stream and I can tell who Quill is playing as by the hat he's wearing. There you go. Got to be on brand for everything. Okay. Joseph Stalin is concerned about factionalism. I don't know why he'd be concerned about that. Why would he think that someone's trying to split off a new faction inside of the Soviet Union? That's crazy talk. Has he seen what I'm wearing? Clearly, I'm all on board here with the Soviet communist regime, obviously. In a recent session of the Central Committee, Comrade Joseph Stalin noted the growing factionalism inside the party. While all members of the committee were quick to assure him of their full and unconditional support, this has apparently done very little to ease his concerns. According to the Comrade Joseph Stalin, we must always be vigilant for saboteurs and wreckers who plot against the state in whatever position they may be. This news comes as a bit of a surprise to many of the party, who believe that the threat of the party split ended with Trotsky's exile. They're really anything to is worried. So now this unlocks the paranoia system. Stalin gains political paranoia, which is going to increase political paranoia by a bit. So let's take a quick look-see over here at what we've got. So in the decision screen now, we've got this political paranoia screen available, which currently starts at 0 and is going to increase by 2% per week currently. 1% from Stalin, 1% from Yagoda, who is one of our advisors over here. He has the trait that he's the head of the NKVD, which increases political paranoia, but I can't replace him. Not allowed to replace him, so he's just sort of stuck there. I wonder can I have replaced him before this all started? That's actually something I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious. You guys will have to try. It's too late now, but I wonder if it would have been possible to do a swap before if we delayed things. Anyway, so that's going to go up. Now, when the paranoia goes above 25, we will start to get random purge events. And the higher it goes, the more likely it is. If it hits over 75, a great purge can start. And if it maxes out, it can start the Civil War. Now, ultimately, we want to start a civil war because we want to break away from the Soviet Union and reform a monarchist Russia. But if it happens too soon, we won't have enough support. Right now, we have 10% support over here. We do have to set up our headquarters, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So yeah, it's going to run for a few days, for 5 days. When it's done, it's going to establish an opposition cell here in Chita. And popular support for an uprising increases 1%. And for the opposition in the armed forces will increase 2%. So we're going to go ahead and run that, set up our headquarters over here, and kick things off. What other decisions are available? Oh, yes. So this is going to be a really powerful one. What we want to do, so we want to keep political paranoia as low as possible for as long as possible. So this is going to be a really useful button for us to help drop it. And there's going to be a few other things we'll have to do, including sacrificing a lot of people in the military along the way. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Will you play more Project Zomboid? Yeah, the stream on Saturday was extremely fun for Zomboid. I definitely want to continue that run. I just don't know what it's going to look like. So again, maybe I should be exercising my troops or my planes or my ships or something. Right now, because I'm a little bit low on various supply, I kind of feel like maybe not. Like our fuel would just drop like a stone the second I start exercising our planes. So unless I want to import more oil, which I don't really want to do, that's, I don't think that's a winner. And again, exercising our troops, I mean, we're short 25,000 infantry equipment as is. So one of the big questions that we're going to be with this patch is what are our divisions going to look like? Because the combat width system is, well, it's not, okay, there actually are some innate changes to the way certain combat width things work, but also the combat width is now terrain dependent. The old sort of standard sort of 20 or 40 or 60 width divisions stuff is less relevant now, because the combat width, depending on where you're fighting, is going to be anywhere from, I think, 75 in the mountains to 90 on the plains, but in some places it'll be like an 84 combat width, I think, in the forest or something like that. So there's all these sort of odd numbers, and it's meant to be that there's no magic one-size-fits-all for the combat width for things. All right, so Turkey's seizing control over the Bosphorus. I believe, just like how in the west of Germany here, there's the military junta. Did they already split off into a rebellion? Germany. I'm sure that's one of these news articles that's up. But anyway, I think Turkey had they had kind of a no-fly zone over here. We could mobilize. They'll either have to fight us or back down. I'm going to say I don't care about this, because I'm going to focus on the rebellion. I don't want to be sidetracked by this. So Farcical Circus matters little to us. So the Straits will be remilitarized. I don't really care. It's going to be fine. Yep. Germany embroiled in civil war. That was fast.